the children in the orphanage had tremendous difficulty in getting passport. The name of the father, the birthplace, name of mother, everything, address, everything was problematic. So we decided that if that particular orphanage or child care home, if it is registered, and whosoever is the director there or whosoever is running that facility on the official letterhead certifies the detail of the child, boy or girl, that this is the name, this is the birthplace, this is the father's name, mother's name, whatever it is, this is the address, we will accept it as it is.
Hello and welcome to Nation Talks. It's a Metamorphs initiative and I'm Preeti Prakash. Metamorphs is a non-profit organization conceived and fostered by 10 defense veterans committed to nation building, restoring social values in society, hand-holding people in need, nurturing the lost glory of veterans, and thus contributing positively in whichever ways they can. Today, I have with me Dr. Dnyaneshwar Muley, who's a very distinguished personality with multiple dimensions to his profile. He's been a career diplomat, been an ambassador to Maldives, Consul General of India in New York. He served in Russia, Mauritius, Syria. He's been the former secretary to the government of India. He's an author who's written 15 books. He's a columnist, member of NHRC. He knows 8 languages. And the best part of his profile is that he's known as the passport man of India. Let's talk to him to find out how has he made India proud. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Mulay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really proud to be here on this very, I think, very different forum.
Very warm welcome to you, sir. Having led the passport reform initiatives in 2012, probably. Am I right?
Well, 16 onwards, 16 to 19.
Mm-hmm. So we like to ask you, our viewers will like to know from you, what was the need of these reforms and what were actually the reforms that you worked on and got in?
Well, I think everybody knew the need for the reforms. Prior to say 2015, the experience of passport was something like similar to say climbing of Mount Everest. People were simply scared of applying for passport. What were the problems? Number one, the procedure everybody thought was very complicated. Number two, people had to travel long distances. For example, in Maharashtra, where I come from, people from Solapur would have to travel to Nagpur, which is 500 kilometers. People from Kolhapur, where I come from, they had to travel again for 500 kilometers to Mumbai. Distances were, of course, very, because once the distances, meaning it creates multiple problems. It becomes expensive. You have to go to an unfamiliar city, stay there for a few days, spend money on staying, transport. And of course, the last but not the least is the aspect of corruption. Agents had sprung up everywhere. They are in thousands and they were minting money. And yet there were frauds taking place. Cheating was happening quite, it was quite rampant. So what we really did, and I must remember here the contribution of late Sushma Swaraj ma'am. She was really an outstanding minister, I would say, because she had this habit of going at the root cause of every problem. So we identified these problems. Number one, distance. Number two is complicated documentation. Number three, certainly this business of having agents, etc. And fourth really is being transparent or being people friendly, public friendly. I think these were 4 issues that really troubled everyone. So number one we did is really simplified the documents. Now you will wonder, what have we done there? Instead of 16 documents, which were listed earlier, now we have only 3. Aadhaar card, PAN card, and voter ID. Frankly, if you have these three, you should not have any issue in getting a passport. So far as distances is concerned, we have now more than 500 from a mere 90. We have about 500 odd passport offices in the country. Our objective was to cover every Lok Sabha constituency, and we have more or less, achieved that. And last but not the least is the corruption aspect. The process was made very, very transparent. Everything was available on the website. We had an excellent partner in TCS who managed the front office. And we really went in a very minute way. For example, let me just give you two examples. Number one, the children in the orphanage had tremendous difficulty in getting passport. The name of the father, the birthplace, name of mother, everything, address, everything was problematic. So we decided that if that particular orphanage or child care home, if it is registered, and whosoever is the director there or whosoever is running that facility on the official letterhead certifies the detail of the child, boy or girl, that this is the name, this is the birthplace, this is the father's name, mother's name, whatever it is, this is the address, we will accept it as it is. And you'd be surprised, it was a huge relief, because we so-called normal people don't understand how traumatic it could be if you don't have an address, if you don't have name of a father or mother. So this is what we did. Similarly, we had a strange, because we tried to take concern of every segment. We had a very interesting representation by a few people on different occasions that the sadhus in India, sannyasis, some gurus, they take the name of their guru as father after they join the, whatever is their panth or, whatever is their mat, whatever it might be. And they had difficulties in getting passport because they had to write the name of the father or mother whom they had renunciated, in a sense, abandoned, because that is what the sannyasi path dictates. So we did make a provision in the reforms that if there is any government document other than the passport, of course, where the name of that guru comes or appears as a father, then we will give the passport in the name of the guru to this shishya. It was a very minor thing for us, but for those who are in that particular line of lifestyle, whatever you call it, they have taken that path. For them, it was a very big thing. Similarly, we thought of single mothers, children who have only one parent. They don't have the compulsion of writing the names of both parents, for example. A separated person does not have to write the name of the spouse. You won't realize hundreds and thousands of women and men, both, they got relieved with this. Because for want of this, they won't get their passport, and they don't want to write the name of the spouse from whom they are separated or with whom they have divorce processes going on. So this is what I think makes it very comprehensive, very thoughtful, I would say, and it lasts long because it is part of the institution now. It is part of the institutional arrangement now. Of course, because of every district we have having passport makes people's lives very easy. You go to a familiar place, even if you are missing some document, you can again go back and bring that immediately. And if it is your own district or place, you can make some inquiries without feeling ashamed or embarrassed. So all this adds to the what we call truly the ease of doing business. And I always believe that every person has right to get the passport, and we should have facility so that everybody enjoys that right.
Absolutely. It was a great, in fact, a great reform moment, a movement in the country that was heralded by you and yes, the late Sushma Swaraj ji, where I remember anyone who won anything related to passports, they used to just tweet her. And I think this system also you got in your tenure. Just
Yes,
tweet and she would reply or she would come to the
very,
help. Yeah.
very true. In fact, Madad portal that we started, we had the best record in grievance redressal in the country that time. And we had, one of the largest number of complaints we used to receive. And, the handling of grievance was among the best in the government of India. So, I think Madam's personal attention did help, but people were inspired. The officers were inspired. They wanted to do something and, show that, yes, this is one machine that works really very well.
Any other reforms that you would like to tell our viewers, which you think they may not be aware of?
Well, number of them, but I'll mention another one, which is called Indian Community Welfare Fund, ICWF. This was there already in place, but we thought that it was the rules were so difficult that ambassadors and high commissioners at whose disposal this fund was, they were not able to use it to help, these people who were in distressful situations. Now we entirely turned the scheme upside down, made it simple, made it transparent, raised the ceiling. For example, today ambassador wants somebody who is on the street and not having a shelter abroad. He can, if the person is needy, of course, then he can make arrangement for 2 to 3 weeks for giving the person shelter at the government cost. And if further need is required, of course, he can seek the approval of the ministry. So similar rules are there for medical assistance. Somebody who is, faces emergency situation abroad, he or she can be helped from this fund. Certainly for return ticket to India, anybody who is distressed can avail of that facility. We have provided legal aid also, so that people who are for want of bail or bail application are languishing in foreign jails, they could be brought back easily. There is a provision for helping community organizations to host functions of cultural and social nature. It's also made compulsory for the HOMs to meet the student community in their respective country, and it is paid for from this particular fund. And the fund is a very simple concept. We levy $2 and $3 respectively to Indians and foreigners who avail the consular services in the missions. And that goes into a separate, account, which is maintained and which is audited, by the mission. And it is auditable by Government of India's, agencies as per the normal rules. So that I personally feel arrangements are such that no Indian should ever suffer abroad for want of government support or want of, India's support. And I think perhaps India is, perhaps, I'm using the word perhaps because I don't know, perhaps the only country which has such a foolproof scheme in place for helping our own citizens abroad.
Okay. Anything special for our defense people and even the veterans, maybe who have some issue with the passport thing? Anything that is particularly?
Well, I would say that they whenever they would approach the embassy or consulate, they would always get a preferential, I would say reception and treatment and hospitality. And my advice, if any of the defense personnel are abroad, do not wait in the queue. Ask for ambassador's office, or if he's not there, whoever is the next senior officer, and you will have a very pleasant experience. You will be made to sit at ambassador's chamber, and you will be provided a cup of tea and maybe biscuits, and you will your service, whatever service you are there for, that will be catered to. Our missions have improved a lot, and there has been, government of India has invested a lot in the missions to make them people friendly, citizen friendly. I'll just give you one example. Now every mission has a community officer. Many people don't know, and these community officers are supposed to be available all the time for emergencies of any person. So, and they do go on Saturdays and Sundays if need be, for taking care of passports or sometimes visas, depending on the situation and the country. So I think that is very useful information for everyone, particularly for our defense personnel.
Okay, taking this forward, Dr. Mulay, there is an initiative that you have been the harbinger of, which is to help Indians in distress overseas, as you just mentioned. So tell us about this initiative of yours, and how does it work with people who need help outside? Particularly, I just had an incident just now where somebody from Malaysia, a lady, rang me up and said that she's facing marital discord problems, and so she wants to get back to India. She has a small child. She does not want to be there. So the embassy, I guess they did extend help to her, and now she's back in India safely. She had her husband had confiscated her papers, her money, her everything. So in cases of such and more distressed people, how does this organization, I believe the name of the organization is RADIO?
Radio.
Okay.
Radio means rescuing every distressed Indian overseas. That's our aim, objective. No Indian should suffer abroad for want of help. And as I just explained, ICWF is an excellent arrangement, but people often do not know about it. Also, there is so much that a government agency, which is really embassy and consulates, they can do. There are lots of things, for example, liaison with the local government, sometimes liaising with the hospitals where somebody is dead and he has to be brought back to India. Various certificates are required, postmortem reports are required. Now, if the community there, and we have 30 million people abroad, out of which almost 17, 18 million hold Indian citizenship. Now, these people do help each other, but I did feel the need for a slightly better umbrella organization that can create a network of these people who are already working. They are in touch with the embassies. They have a good understanding of the local dynamics. They also have good interaction with community organizations, and they have a good standing overall. Many of them are, PBSA awardees, Pravasi Bharatiya Samman awardees. So we have these people there, and we also have a team in India. Now the idea is, I'll tell you, problems are not uniform, and each person who is in trouble, he has a different problem. Let me tell you something about what kind of problems I have seen in my own assignment. When I was in Moscow, a lady from St. Petersburg called me and said that my husband, so-and-so Singh, was a driver, and last night he was driving in the night. It was a dead winter, minus 10, 15. He had kept his taxi engine on, and asphyxiation, sort of, he slept and he was killed. And she said, she sent me all the documents, and she said he had this desire that his ashes or whatever, his body should be flown to India. Now and it is currently in the morgue. So immediately we sent a message to DG in the concerned state, and there was address. We had a copy of the passport also. There was address, and the local authorities told us that, well, such a person is already there in the village, and he's been happily married here and with children. So there was impersonation, but that gentleman had died, and he was certainly Indian because he spoke, fluent Hindi and Punjabi. So obviously he was impersonating for reasons known to him. It's an economic, need for him. And then there was this question of how to, then what do we do with the body? So after giving enough notices and waiting for enough time and getting no objections from various authorities, we had to cremate the body in St. Petersburg itself. Now, this is one example. When I was in New York, a lady came crying. Just in the morning, she said the whole night, again winter, I was sitting outside. My husband threw me out and I don't know where to go. Very well-educated lady. But many a times our women, as many other laborers also, they get into this thinking of a glorified life abroad, where everybody has a car, everybody has a big bungalow, and everybody's minting a lots of money, and they're attracted there. We recently even, in fact, discovered that certain states are there where parents are sending their young children. It's kind of a strange kind of trafficking. And the age group is 12 to 16, 12 to 18. They want to go there early. And these children, if they were caught in one, they had to cross maybe 6 to 8 countries and the borders. And in one country they were caught. There were, I think, some 20 children, and a few of them simply ran away, even though there was a guard with a weapon. They were put in a local child reforms center. In Maldives, I visited the prison and found that there were 40 prisoners, Indian prisoners, and more than 20 of them were women. These women were essentially of 50 plus age. Many had spent, several years in that country, and they were all carriers of inadvertent carriers of drugs from India. And many of them had diabetes, blood pressure, and they served 15 years, 20 years. Now, there is a mechanism whereby after they complete their term of sentence, they can be sent back. But often the states who have the responsibility of verifying the address in India, they are, I would say, inefficient sometimes. So this all requires an organization that can handle these issues in a holistic manner. Good relationship with the embassy, good relationship with the local authorities, good relationship even with Indian states and Indian government here, so that everybody rallies behind the distressed person. So that is where, from my own experience, I thought that radio would be a good advisors working now in 18 countries, starting from Canada to Japan, and Mauritius to China. We have these advisors. They are all, what we check before kind of giving them this designation is their social profile. How helpful that they have been in the past, how many people they have rescued, how many people they have, helped. And all of them have, they've done amazing work. And this is all in volunteer capacity without any remuneration. And already in the last 1.5 years when we started, we have rescued more than certainly about 150. We don't really have count, but now one will be maintaining the case studies as to why it happens, how it happens. And we hope that whether it is seafarers or our prisoners, if minimum they are treated well when they're abroad and they're brought back respectfully. That is our bottom line, and we would be very happy when they come to India. We safely hand them over to their relatives. There is much. There are other elements, but those are going to come later, like rehabilitation of returnees and looking after the welfare of the labor class, particularly when they're abroad. There is a lot of abuse of women, physical as well as mental abuse and sexual abuse, particularly in Gulf countries where they're employed as maids, sometimes as nurses. And it's an enormous problem because a large number of our people do believe that they have to go abroad. And I don't think we can stop them. Whatever reasons, employment, economic opportunities, educational opportunities, opportunities of growth, they go abroad. And since we cannot really have control there, we should at least make them aware. For example, pre-departure training is one of our aim, that every person who goes particularly to work abroad should have a minimum briefing of 15-20 minutes and some literature in their hand, which they can use. There is that kind of a scheme going on of MEA currently, and lots of people are actually availing of that training. Every registered recruiter is supposed to send these laborers before they depart from India to this pre-departure training program. I hope that picks up further, and it covers every person who goes to work abroad.
Yeah. We also, it's so nice. A lot of information that you've given. We also come across, news from Gulf countries, particularly, that how Indians are, working in industries and factories there, where their passports have been seized by the owner, and they're all stranded. I think Ministry of External Affairs has done a tremendous job in getting them back. But this problem is quite a recurrent one, I guess. And it has many faces to it, many dimensions to it. Who stuck for what reason, and
sure. There are organized trafficking, for example. Particularly from certain districts of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. And the government is putting in a lot of effort, but not every. They change name, they change the name of the company. And they have got good network in rural areas where they. Some kind of allurement is given to the girls and their parents. Similar thing happens with laborers also. They are, asked for 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh. They sell their land, they sell their house just to make their life better. But, suddenly they find that they're nowhere. So there are issues of established workers and, of course, these kind of irregular people who have issues with their passport, visas, employment. Suddenly they are retrenched also at times. We had these cases, particularly in 17 and 18, because of recession. A lot of workers were retrenched in thousands. So we had to work very closely with the employers through our embassies. Because what do we do? How can we get them jobs when they come back to India? It's not easy.
So, Dr. Mulay, now I'll just want to ask you, my last question is, how do you think the youth of today can make our country proud, like you and so many others?
I think what really we need to do for the youth in the first place is create an environment so that they can unleash their creativity. Actually, when I see that 100,000 students go to USA alone every year, my heart really bleeds. I feel sad because 80% of them don't come back at any given point, and it's a huge economic drain on our country. What we earn in tourism and other things, it's easily washed out. In one estimate, the figure comes to approximately 200,000 crores that we spend on our children's studies abroad. Now imagine annually, if we are spending that much hard-earned money of middle class, how many universities we can create into 200,000 crores in India? Why don't we have some effort? But so far as the youth is concerned, I would like to see, really tell them that they must experience life in its true form. They must go to villages. They must go and approach nature. They must meet people of diverse backgrounds, whether it is farmer, whether it is a laborer, a doctor, a chartered accountant, a lawyer, a journalist, and find out the nuances of life. I do feel that screen has somewhat killed, the opportunities for creative interaction with life in a vibrant form, which lies there outside. So I do tell youngsters that they must travel a lot, they must read a lot, they must expose themselves to reasonable risks. One of my teachers used to tell me, live life on the edge, and you will realize how life is important and what all you can do. So I think that living on the edge feeling seems to be deteriorating. We have a large middle class where children have never experienced poverty. I really want them to go and see what kind of poverty exists in slums and in villages, even in urban centers. When we have addressed any social issue, unless we have a basic understanding as to what we are made of, the students will not be able to build the nation. And then there are enough opportunities in India for building nation, but they need to really address them. It's not only about making money, but it's certainly more about living a happy life and building a happy nation. I have something called movement of positivity, and there we have three pillars, one of which is creativity, one is constructive approach, and third is compassion. If any one of these is missing, I believe that nation building will get hampered. And this is what I think the youth must understand. And we have a wonderful constitution which gives us freedom, equality, and justice. We must really strengthen it in every possible manner. That is my general message to young students. I meet lots of them, and I have lots of young friends all over the country, and I interact with them quite frequently. It's always a joy to sort of share whatever I have lived and experienced in my life.
Absolutely, you're very right. And one more initiative in this is feather in the government's cap also is the startup that the government has started, which has encouraged a lot of young people to
no doubt
bring good things out with new ideas. That's also one way of the youth can make our country proud of.
Certainly. Yeah. Talent is enormous in India.
Yes.
And it really needs to be deployed for our own country, not USA, UK, and Australia.
Yeah.
So that's really the crux of my friendly advice to youngsters.
Yeah, I think you really shared very good and constructive things with us, Dr. Mulay. Thank you so much for being with us. Your life and works are exemplary enough to guide our countrymen to work in the direction of taking India forward. To my viewers, don't forget sharing, liking, pressing the bell icon for more such interactions with people, distinguished people who bring change in our life. Do write in a comment section if you want us to cover some more issues or bring on board people who can make a difference. We'll be too happy to get them to you. Thank you so much. Till then, be safe and be happy. Thank you, Dr. Mulay, once again for being there with us and talking to us.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.